Salve, my dude. Welcome to another installment of my summer recap vlog series. Allow me to start off by saying that I love that top you're wearing. It really brings out the colour of your earlobes. Anyway, in case you're in the market for a bit of chaos to grace your day with, I've got you covered. As we all know by now, if we're caught up with my recent videos as we should be, so far, these tumultuous summer vlogs have featured me being a hazard to society, falling off cliffs and watching world premieres of films, but nothing quite like what you're going to witness in the next few minutes here today. So stick around, because bestie, I don't want you missing out on the iconic vibes still to come. So without further ado, let's get started. Mother Goose, Father Zoom and myself had decided to start off day 4 of our vacation by going to visit Val Verzasca, which is actually where a portion of James Bond was filmed. For tourists willing to pay their hard-earned money to throw themselves into a concrete pit likely leading to hell, they were also offering bungee jumping, but unfortunately they weren't yet open at the time that we arrived, so that's my excuse for chickening out. I mean not doing it. I was instead interested in their assortment of iconic hats and going to see this bendy bridge made by people before the invention of a ruler. The sun was shining, my sunburn was worsening, and there were far too many teenage boys throwing themselves off of the rocks for me to count. There's a running theme here, in case you couldn't already tell, which is that if ever a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is offered to me containing anything to do with heights or jumping off of them, I won't take it. You couldn't pay me £1 million to yeet myself down a cliff secured only by a shoe. I'm barely competent enough to tie my own laces, let alone trust them with my life. Let me know if you'd ever bungee jump in the comments. If you would, I will award you the official title of You're Braver Than the Not-So-Famous Cat Branchweiler. Put that on your resume. Let's continue though before this conversation gets any more out of hand. To the sound of some fabulous tunes, we drove back into the city of Locarno and to the lake shore. As someone who lives in the UK, I was absolutely going to take every opportunity I could get to sunbathe and complain about the heat, because when am I ever supposed to do that on the British Isles? Passing by Area 51 as though I were a completely normal civilian and not an alien myself, it was once again time for me to see a film. We are at the film festival after all.
I'm about to spend almost 2 hours in a cinema.
My complaints were unwarranted, however, because with the accompaniment of my thick water bottle, I sat through that thing just fine. That was a really good film. I think it was my favourite so far. It was an Icelandic film with German subtitles, so I could understand it fine. But it was really fun, really funny, and yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. I enjoyed that. See, I'm an up-and-coming film critic. Look at that review. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend. Whee. And my dudes, that concludes day 4.
Why is it 2 AM and they're still playing music outside?
Now let me speed through day 5, or should I say cinque, for you all. On this day I'd be seeing a film in another new cinema. Father Zoom has left me to my own devices for the next 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not okay, besties, not okay. That's right, my dudes, I'd been abandoned. So, like the big girl I am, I'm a big girl now. I trudged into the theatre, praying that no one would try to socially interact with me, and then sat through a whole lot of very important chats with the film's cast and crew. I say important, but I'm nowhere near fluent in French, so it might not have been. For all I know, they could have been discussing the cultural significance of the Eiffel Tower. Where did that come from? Moving on swiftly, because as we can all tell, I'm going slightly insane. Cue me being embarrassingly tall whilst meeting the lead actresses. Slay. And now it's time for the review you all weren't waiting for. Hey dudes, so that is officially going on my list of top 10 films I've ever seen. I sat next to the entire cast and the lead actress the entire film. I did have to say, je ne parle pas français, but I told them they were amazing and she was super nice. My butt hurts after sitting in the theatre for 2 hours. I sat through the interviews at the end for 15 minutes. I didn't understand a word they were saying, so I was just like, French. Oui, French. So yeah, it was a great film. I genuinely loved it. Oh my god, the bit where Karine is like to Manon, I thought you didn't like girls, and she's like, I only like you, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to stop. Main character moment over now, besties. Ooh, or not. Father Zoom forced us to voyage again to the lake, where I bravely endured an icy cold swim, freezing off all of my limbs. Just bear in mind that I've had to speed up this clip by 400%. Hello there, besties. I know I start every single one of these clips by saying that. I am bringing you this footage, this overexposed footage. I'm going people watching right now because I'm warming up a bit after that freezing endeavour I had into the water with Father Zoom. I don't know if anybody else enjoys people watching, but I always think it's quite interesting. There's a bunch of kids doing cartwheels.
their legs aren't straight and their toes aren't pointed. So yes, I am better than them. Other thing to note, I keep speaking in every language other than the ones necessary of me. Okay, this is very random, besties. I've also got a creepy old lady staring at me and I feel very uncomfortable. If people stare at you, stare back at them. That's my plan of action at all times. I hope you're enjoying this improv vlog. This is terrible footage. Right guys, love you. Look at this. Stunning. That was really awkward and cringy and whatnot. Bye besties, love you all. I hope you could hear all of that. Probably not. Anyways, toodles.
I didn't think it was possible to have to endure anything worse than swimming in freezing cold water, but having to edit through that messy monologue I just did was possibly the most painful experience of my life. My sincerest apologies for subjecting you all to that. But this vlog's got to continue somehow, and if you hadn't yet noticed, let me draw your attention to the fancy outfit I gotten dressed in, and the fact that we were watching our first film on the big Piazza Grande screen.
We have to wait an hour and a half for our film to start, so I'm walking around in a circle for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and we'll see if they can find anything interesting. I'll keep you updated.
My quest of finding something interesting was unfortunately rather unsuccessful, so I ended up just admiring the sunset and wishing I'd brought something warmer to wear whilst the 2 hours of waiting time ticked on. In case you weren't aware, I'm a bit of a Shakespeare stan, and so when I heard they'd be showing a modernised film rendition of Othello on the big screen, my parents were forced to comply and buy us all tickets. It was almost 9:30 by the time that the whole shebang really started, but the mesmerising projections on the buildings were well worth the wait. Interviews were held with the cast of Othello, and legendary Taiwanese director Tsai Ming-liang, I know I probably butchered that, sorry besties, was presented with the well-deserved Pardo a la Carriera award. But time for my review of the film. Firstly, let me give a shout out to the lady in front of us who spent the entire time with her bandaged up foot rested on the seat in front of her. You're a champ and you kept me entertained whilst the tragedy of Othello blazed on. Can you tell I'm trying to avoid having to give my review? There weren't any age restrictions on this film, nor did the trailer give away all too many details. And I mean, I was prepared for the violence, that was fine, but not to have Mother Goose covering my eyes on numerous occasions whilst the characters explicitly did the devil's tango. Do you need me to elaborate? I hope not.
Well, that was Othello on crack, to say the least.
Let's brush aside Othello as though it never happened and move on with the vlog, shall we, my dudes? Day say began with me seeing yet another film at the Grand Rex. This time, however, instead of being a world premiere, they were just doing a screening of the absolute classic Good Will Hunting, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck and the late Robin Williams. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Anything with Robin Williams in it can't be bad, and I even made it on the official Locarno Film Festival Instagram. Look besties, there I am. For a solid 0.5 seconds, I was broadcasted for their 75,000 followers to see. And yes, it was quite possibly the proudest moment of my life. But we can celebrate later, besties. Because at this point, my posse and I embarked on yet another hike. The weather was spiffing, as we'd say here in England, although we wouldn't actually say that here in England, because it never really is. But that's besides the point. On the funky cable car you might remember from summer recap vlog number 1, we met this classy dog called Yuno, who was radiating the purest of vibes. Don't you ever just wish that you were a dog? Or any animal aside from human, for that matter of fact. I swear life is just easier when you have 4 legs, a slave, owner to feed you all day, and lots of adoring fans at your disposal willing to rub your belly on command. But who knows, maybe they wish they were us. We always want what we can't have, don't we? I hope you're all enjoying these cinematic nature shots. I personally feel quite envious of my past self watching back these clips, because I'm currently sat frozen in my onesie whilst editing this, and Locarno Cat is soaking up the sunshine like a dry sponge to water. They say British people only ever complain about the weather, and I'd like to now confirm, as an honorary member of the British gang, that that is in fact completely and utterly true. House burns down, it doesn't matter, because the sky is grey. Put salt in your tea instead of sugar, drink it anyway, because there's nothing worse than knowing you'll never get a proper snowy white Christmas. This is so random. These things were actually so cool. Every time we left the house I'd be searching for them, and I was constantly scaring the life out of Mother Goose and Father Zoom, because whenever I'd spot one I'd shout, "It's a bestie!" And it was always the funniest thing. On the topic of besties, over the course of the summer the frequency with which I used the word bestie increased tenfold, to the point that even my parents were calling each other besties. We're a multilingual family if you didn't know. We speak English, Russian, German and alien, and hearing my mum and dad each say bestie with their accents is another level of iconicness. But I will say it did get slightly confusing at points, seeing as all 3 of us, plus the lizards, were now besties. So occasionally we didn't know who was who. That was the most demonic laugh I have ever heard. Jesus Christ, I literally scared myself with that one. Anyways, by this point it was already evening time, so we headed back down to the Piazza Grande for another, hopefully less emotionally scarring, world premiere screening. Don't tell anyone, but I may have taken a review poster off of one of the walls. They'd be thrown out anyway, my dudes. I was doing my part for the planet. Speaking of climate activism, 2 members of the Act Now anti-climate change group actually jumped up onto the stage and were kindly offered the opportunity to speak a couple of words in support of their cause.
Dear audience, we're not happy to be here. If we're here, it's because we understand what climate change means for us and for you, and this is fucking scary.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. The film we were watching was actually based around climate change in the Arctic, so this was a really powerful moment. I would like to bring your attention to the following clip, however. The Piazza Grande, which was occupied that evening by 8,000 people, had my face plastered on the big screen for a solid 15 seconds. When I tell you this was the best moment of my life, I was just myself, and the crowd gave me a standing ovation when I sat down again. The people sitting beside us were calling out words of praise in multiple different languages, and I was literally glowing. That's me in my element, folks. Nothing surprising. I just have an inkling that one day I'll be on the big screen again. Unfortunately, it's time to say toodles to the film festival, however, because we've reached my final day in Locarno.
Hi besties, so I'm currently walking to the Palace Cinema for my last film of the film festival. Unfortunately, we're going home, as in to Germany. Father Zoom has left me in the middle of Locarno alone, and I'm a bit scared, but besties, we're right here, so I'll be fine. I'm watching Todos los Incendios. Let's hope it's good. Hi besties, I'm out of the film. That was really good. I think it's actually the second best film I watched at this festival. I think it's such a useful film for anyone struggling with their identity. It really does a great job of portraying like the struggles of coming to terms with your sexuality, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Spanish, lovely, love that. But the issue is I have run out of mobile data and I can't call Father Zoom and I have no idea where to go. Slightly panicking right now. Right besties, I'm officially panicking because I don't know where I am. Well, I know where I am, but I don't have a way to get to my parents. I might have to ask to use somebody's phone because I can't get on the free Wi-Fi here, and it's very stressful. I'm gonna maybe just wait outside the cinema. I don't know. Help. Good news, Father Zoom just called me. I didn't realise that you could still do that when you had no cash left on your card or whatever. But Father Zoom said he'll come and collect me in a little bit, so that's good. But I'm still stressed. Now I just have to wait, so...
I spent the next 10 minutes soaking up the last of the film festival fun and worsening my sunburn, before Father Zoom finally came to collect the incompetent teenager that is me. We walked up the mountain one last time and said our farewells to my uncle's fancy-snancy apartment, and with our stuff in the car, the 3 of us embarked on the long journey back to Germany, from where I've got one last vlog for you all, so subscribe to not miss that. I had good company for the journey with my fabulous guinea pig magazine by my side, so luckily the drive wasn't too bad. But back in the land of sausages, we had to head to the supermarket to stock up on some absolute essentials. I mean, what's a holiday without some watermelon and a big old box of Milchschnitten? Yeah, I don't know how to finish that sentence. I've been editing this video for so long at this point, I don't even remember anything that happens in it anymore.
We've arrived, besties.
Here we are back at my auntie and uncle's house. I hope you've enjoyed this chaotic vlog, my dude. Like I said, there's one left, so stick around. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, Merry early Christmas. Keep doing what makes you smile, stay classy, follow me on Instagram, and stay cool. Love you, bestie. Comment an egg if you made it this far.